Hello, and welcome once again to the Dental Marketing Mastery Series. This podcast is brought to you by dentalwebcontent.com and New Patients Incorporated. I'm Howie Horrocks, the founder of New Patients Incorporated. Along with me once again is my friend and partner and the president of New Patients Incorporated, Mark Dilatush. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to our podcast. This would normally be the time I'd bring in my partner, Mark, and he'd tell you something about the weather in New Jersey or, the latest country music performer he saw or bass fishing story or something like that. But Mark's not here today. He's enjoying a well-deserved vacation up in the state of Maine, and I mean in the middle of nowhere, Maine. He's got I wanted to say vacation cabin, but it's more like a house on a beautiful lake up there. And it's just beautiful there in the summertime. In the winter, everything's frozen and under 10 feet of snow, but right now it's just gorgeous up there. So that's where he is. So today you only have me. I want to talk a little bit about ROI, return on investment for your marketing, and why that's important and how you might go about figuring it out. When you're engaged in a marketing effort, you need to know if it's producing a good return or a not so good return. I mean, your basic question when a patient calls or shows up in your practice is, why are you here? Or actually, what you want to know is which of our marketing efforts did you respond to? Okay? And I mean, isn't that what you really need to know? I mean, without knowing the correct answer to that, it makes it really difficult to determine if your marketing is working or not. It makes it difficult to determine it for you to decide if you want to continue to put your marketing budget toward whatever it is you're doing, or just abandon the effort and try something else. Without this correct data, you could end up killing an effort that's actually working, but you just don't know it. Or you could continue to pour money into an effort that isn't working. And, either way, it gets very expensive for you, right, if you don't have this data. And talking about ROI can drive you crazy because it's almost never calculated correctly. In fact, I'm not even sure it's possible to get it 100% correct. All right, so, don't try for perfection here, but, try. Now, what I'm talking about today relates to offline marketing. Okay, that's marketing you do that does not employ the internet. See, with online marketing, like Google AdWords, when we do a Google AdWords campaign for a client, the client and we have the benefit of a dashboard and also Google Analytics. These will tell you where the call came from and even what sort of revenue came into the practice from that marketing effort. It's really slick and it's really accurate. But you don't have to depend on the patient in that regard to ask them how they heard about you. So it's much more accurate than trying to trace offline marketing. So let's look at offline marketing and how to figure your ROI there. Let's say you spend $25,000 on a campaign. I mean, it could be mail, radio, TV, whatever. It produces X numbers of new patients over the course of the campaign. So you add up the dentistry you sold and collected and subtract your costs and arrive at your initial ROI. Initial is the key word here, the first, initial. If that number is unacceptable, you might want to, might feel justified in canceling the campaign. But what you have at that point is not the correct total ROI. It's the initial ROI, the first level ROI. Not only is it not the total ROI, it's not by a long shot. In truth, the ROI continues for years. Now, let me tell you why. All these new patients that you got from the marketing you just didn't get all their dentistry done the first year, did they? Maybe some did, but many, maybe even most, didn't. So unless you close up shop or make them mad or they move away or die, most of them will keep you as their dentist and continue to pay you for many years to come. All right? Even if you completely finish their cases, they still go under recare and you make money. So now what's the ROI? And then let's make it even more complicated. The new patients referred, they're going to refer. We don't know how many they're going to refer, but we know it's not zero. So how much dentistry will those referrals buy, and how much will they buy in the years to come? And then how about tertiary, third level referrals? Ad infinitum. Okay, now it's the ROI on your initial investment. Again, we don't necessarily know, but we know it's not zero. Other things that make it hard to nail down an accurate ROI. It's when you have to depend on the front desk or the office manager or staff member to enter the correct referral source into your practice management software. We see huge errors that are made all the time in doing it this way, including the most common error, which is to leave the referral field blank. Okay, there's just nothing in it. Take a look into your PMS and you'll see what I'm talking about. And why is that? Because there's nothing in it, really, for the patient to give you the actual referral source. There's nothing in it for them to remember it. They don't get a prize. They don't get a discount. They just, and it's not because they're hiding anything. They just have no reason to remember accurately. They'll tell you they heard about you on the radio. We've gotten this before. Heard about you on the radio. And the dentist goes, well, we haven't been on the radio for 15 years. So they'll tell you they heard, they searched you out on the internet, when what they really did was receive your mailer or maybe heard your radio spot, and then they went to your website and maybe they scheduled online from your online tool, scheduling tool. So website gets entered into the referral field when the actual source was mailer or perhaps radio. So it's inaccurate. You get inaccurate information from your patients. Here's an example. Let's call her Emma Smith. She hears your radio spot. She calls to make an appointment. The source field gets entered as radio. Okay, that's correct. 6 months later, she drags in her husband, Barney, because she's tired of smelling his burial breath or something. And the source field is entered referral from Emma Smith. Okay, that's correct. She did refer him. It's true, but it's inaccurate for marketing tracking purposes. The only reason Barney is there is because of Emma, and the only reason Emma's there is because of the radio spot or mailer or whatever it was. So for tracking purposes, Barney should be assigned as radio in this case, okay? I'm going to take a short break here, and I'll be back in a moment. Don't go away. Hello, everybody. This is Howie Horrocks, and along with me is Mark Dilatush, the president of New Patients Incorporated. How you doing, Mark?
Hey, Howie. How are you? This is the part of the podcast where we get to brag about our company.
Yay.
So sometimes it gets lost in all these podcasts what New Patients Incorporated actually does. We have, I don't know how many podcasts, 75, 80, one a week for well over a year. And all of you listen to these a half hour at a time, and you might lose sight of what we do. So here's the short answer. We do everything we're talking about in these podcasts on behalf of our clients. Okay. The podcasts are there for our clients, of course, just so they understand what the heck we're doing, but also for the doctors who are do-it-yourselfers. If you're not a do-it-yourselfer and you want someone to do this for you, newpatientsinc.com. There's an icon in the dead center at the top of our homepage where you can get a complimentary marketing plan. A series of questions will need to be completed. And once you complete that, we will analyze your market area, develop a marketing plan, and get on the phone with you, discuss all the sections of the marketing plan, just to make sure you understand a couple of things: what you're up against, what your expectations should be, and what Mark and Howie would do if we owned your dental practice.
All right, we're back here. Let's see if we can make this complex a little more simple. One way to avoid some of this, at least, is to have a call tracking number attached to every marketing effort you're doing. Then then you don't have to rely on the patient remembering, because, like I said, it's often not right. And there's also no need for you to rely on how the staff feels about how the marketing campaign is going. You'll get some staff will say, "Oh, we're not getting a thing from it," and you get other staff that say, "So I think it's doing pretty good," but they don't really know. So you're still going to have to make sure the referral fields are entered correctly, even if you don't have to any longer depend on the staff or the patient themselves. And that's kind of a tough one. Now, regarding secondary and tertiary referrals ad infinitum, I suppose a case could be made that, to use this example I just talked about with Emma, the correct referral source being, when she referred her husband Barney, was actually because the practice did a great job and wowed her so much that she convinced her husband to come in and get some work done. And then Barney got the same wow treatment, and he told his coworker about your practice. So now, which marketing effort got Barney's coworker in the front door? Okay, was it Barney? Was it Emma? Was it the practice? It's complicated trying to follow the referral chains. But here's my point. No matter what you consider the answer to be, there had to have been initial causation. What does that mean? In other words, where did this referral chain start in the first place? Now, your key takeaway might be that I think, in my opinion, it's short-sighted to only consider initial ROI when you're trying to figure out if your marketing is paying off or not. But that's what dentists often do. They only consider first-level ROI and ignore or can't track the later ROI that comes, down the road. Every marketing effort has a bell curve. Looks like a bell. Goes up, gets to the apex, and then it reaches the apex and falls off from there. And hopefully the top part of the curve will get stretched out for a good amount of time before it falls off, but it will fall off. The real revenue pool, where you make your money on just about any marketing, never comes at the beginning of the bell curve. It just doesn't. The beginning is also where most of your expense is. No one's going to print and send your mail or run your radio spots or print ads until they get paid. So you have this upfront money they have to shell out, and then you have to endure the momentum build as this bell curve starts on its upward climb. Okay? So this causes practices oftentimes to try this, try that, for years. They're unhappy with the initial ROI after a week or 2 weeks or a month, and they get nervous and start jumping from one marketing effort to another over and over. What they're doing is continually starting new bell curves again and again, rather than being persistent enough to get the benefit of the mid and later end of the curve. You follow that? Now, as an example, there's a method that we use here at NPI that helps clarify whether a campaign is working or not. But it only applies when we do mail campaigns. But this might be a good tip for you if you're mailing with any marketing company or doing it yourself. This doesn't apply, obviously, to online marketing, Google, and that sort of thing. We know who we mail to on behalf of our client because we buy the mailing lists. We know their names and addresses. The practice keeps a new patient roster. They know the names and addresses of all their new patients. So we cross-reference those two lists for a specified time period, say 12 months, a year. Now, this not only tells us the mail campaign produced a new patient from, 201 Elm Street on February 2nd, but also produced 3 more from 201 Elm Street 7 months later. That would be the first one being mom, followed later by, 2 kids and the dad, right? But oftentimes the practice management software will only source the mailer with the original new patient from February 2nd, not the 3 more that arrived on September 12th. See that big gap in time. And this exact scenario happens with regularity with every single mail client, multiple times during the campaign. This one client just recently thought he'd received 88 new patients. That's what his software told him from the mail campaign, which was profitable. It was fine. But the truth was he actually received 144, which was very profitable, and he didn't know it. Now, he wasn't thinking about canceling the campaign, but if he had been, he wouldn't have realized the actual mistake he was making, and he would have missed out on the actual results. So there you have it, my friends. Track your offline marketing efforts with a call tracking number. Don't necessarily believe the patients when you ask how they heard about you. Depend on the call tracking. It's more accurate, and also encourage staff to accurately enter the referral field into your practice management software, okay? And most of all, don't ignore the ROI buildup that will occur over time. If you get one member of a family, there's a very good chance you'll get other family members over time. And they will keep paying you for years and years. And so will their referrals. All right. Thank you so much for listening today. We're really glad that you tuned in. Mark will be back with you and I next week. Goodbye now. We hope you've enjoyed our podcast today. You can find more podcasts on our YouTube channel, on Stitcher, and iTunes. Also on our websites, dentalwebcontent.com and newpatientsinc.com.